Alright, this We the People news. Alright. Never look straight forward, always look around you, be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Use the Second Amendment, arm yourself with knowledge. Okay? I'm not an attorney, y'all. Take everything I say or do with a grain of salt. Okay? This is educational to think outside the box. Okay? The greatest problems we have is a good man does nothing and still ends up in slavery due to other people doing things against you. Oh, by the way, he's not going to read this, so if you want to read that, go through that, because it's true, okay? If everybody's operating in fraud, then how can fraud be charged against them? Just saying.
Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. Definition says, used in this section, the term United States business means United States citizen. Okay, so United States citizen is a United States business. It's a corporation. A corporation, partnership, or other association created under the laws of the United States or of any state, including the District of Columbia or any Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States, or a foreign corporation. And that's Public Law 100-418, 102 Stat 1344, August 23rd, 1988.
And as well, 28 USC 3002, Section B15. That tells you it's a corporation. But you just heard all that. So if it's a corporation of the United States and you're operating in that capacity, then you have no constitutional rights. Constitutional is in the judicial. All right? Corporations in administrative. You don't have constitutional rights in administrative. You can argue it to try to get to the judicial branch.
My opinion is and long has been that the mayor and aldermen of a city corporation or the president directors of a bank or the president directors of a railroad company or other similar corporations are the true parties that sue and are sued as trustees and representatives of the constantly changing stockholders. A corporation, therefore, being not a natural person but mere creature of the mind, invisible and intangible, cannot be a citizen of a state or of the United States and cannot fall within the terms of the power of the above mentioned article, and can therefore neither plead nor be pleaded in the courts of the United States. Okay, so what they're saying is dissimilar things ought not to be joined. In other words, a fiction can...
Okay, we're going into, and I spoke of before, right? Of one like kind. A person of the corporation cannot be a man or woman because that's a different of one like kind, just like a dog is one like kind from a cat. So you cannot intermean all that. They do it, but they do it with your consent. Your driver's license is not you. But if that officer says, hey, is this you? You're going, well, yeah, that's me. Well, it's not. All right? That's a graven image. Even a good book told you what the future is and said, do not get an ID. Just saying.
Not sue a fiction, and a living man, and a fiction cannot sue a living man. I should say, a fiction can sue a fiction, a man can sue a man, but they can't mix. Okay, in other words, a fiction can't sue a man, and a man can't sue a fiction. So if you're suing a fiction, then you're doing it as a fiction, as the minor estate.
Right. So they're not particularly suing you. They cannot sue you. Right? They're suing your ID and not all caps name because it's part of the corporation. All right? Under the category you just watched. Because they cannot go after you in administrative without somehow have a nexus to the man. So, since you are responsible and you signed for that all caps name, that's the nexus to the all caps for the corporation to sue the corporation of you. In shorter terms.
Securities. A birth certificate is not a security. The Treasury website says there's no birth certificate security. We know there is a minor estate created by birth. We know there is a Treasury direct account for the minor estate, and we know there are securities in it that were created by the Hospitaliers. Okay, the Hospitaliers are Satanists.
So listen to this one real close, because this has been on the record. Okay, and Woodrow Wilson, the president, right? He was a tyrant. He committed treason. He committed battery. He committed domestic abuse on the people and enslaved us all. Now, there was other processes in the future from him to tighten up their claims, but keep an eye, and right here it says law merchant. So go to the tribe. He'll read through the law merchant and go into dictionaries and all that, right? The law merchant, common law, civil law, and a couple of other little laws mixed together in merchant. So they Engelmean, okay? They're all having a I don't know. They're all mating together. All right, so even going to challenge jurisdiction of the court to find out which jurisdiction you still got to challenge in which proceedings they're putting you under, right? And the Constitution's XX. Okay, well, there's still no clarification because even when they say, well, common law, they won't, but even if they say common law, okay, well, are you going to change it to law merchant? Are you going to change it to the administrative? Is there going to be a change, or is this going to be on point in the square, right? In the one standing.
Colonel Edward Mandell House in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson.
Which, by the way, was a bankster.
Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit, and they will be none the wiser, for not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have at our arsenal plausibility and deniability. And after all, this is the only logical way to fund government by floating liens and debt into the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap to us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Jefferson said, I believe the banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people are to allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs.
Now, to remind you, Thomas Jefferson was before Wilson. Okay. Did he or did he not read the future? And it was just a few years later, y'all, and did exactly what he warned us about. And here we are today. And the sad thing is, we're anybody that goes into court and challenges these things, they're called a certain name in a different definition than what the original intent was. You know the name, okay? But this is because 90% of the population out there is to get along, right? A revolution war. 3% of the people thought. And up to 5% because the other ones paid and funded the fight to separate from England. And we're doing the exact same thing. We are no different whatsoever than England is. It's just taken us a little longer to be trapped into exactly where England is at today. Okay? And we say we have a president. Okay? They have kings and queens. But the administrator makes him act more like a king than really a president's true authority lies. He's not supposed to have this much power. Congress is saying, hey, we're going to give this president this power that they lawfully cannot do, by the way, because they can be lifetime appointments in Congress and in the Senate. But the president's always going to be limitations. So every single president's got to have an X amount of authority that Congress gave them unlawfully. And, Congress, if you don't like what Trump's doing today, that's on you. You're the one who gave him that authority. So don't blame President Trump. Blame yourself.
Look at all the homeless people nowadays. Is that a surprise? So, Hague Convention on Private International Law, there is a convention concerning the international administration of the estates of deceased person, concluded on 2nd of October 1973. Article 22 says any person who pays or delivers property to the holder of the certificate drawn up and where necessary recognized in accordance with this convention shall be discharged until it's proved that the person acted in bad faith. Security.
And again, this is the reason why when you fight property tax and all that, and they try to wiggle it out through their statutes because they'd never really cleaned it tightly, and you find that loophole, they run. Okay? And attorneys that's fighting against you throws all kinds of crap that don't even belong in there, and the judge is going to go and accept it. You lose the case because the judge has unclean hands and is helping his attorney buddies out because they belong to the same membership club. Remember, y'all, officers, magistrates, judges, attorneys, right? It's conflict of interest against you. But to show good faith that the judicial is operating with clean hands, they every now and then has to throw a bone out there for you to win a lawsuit or for you to win a lawsuit against a corporation. They got to throw these winning things in there to keep you reeled in and say, hey, there is justice out there. But they're teasing you because more than not, you're going to lose. And especially some of you guys does cop watching and all, when it's extremely hard to find an attorney who would fight this.
This is the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. Security interest means any interest in property acquired by contract for the purpose of securing payment or performance or an obligation or indemnifying against loss or liability. A security interest exists at any time. A motor vehicle means a self-propelled vehicle which is registered for highway use under the laws of the state or foreign country. A security
And this is the reason why you don't want to register your property, which there is no law. All right? This is the reason why you don't want to register your vehicle, because it's under these terms, security. All right? They're saying they own it. The banks own it. This is the reason why 9 times out of 10, correct me if I'm wrong, with some of y'all got a bank loan, paid off your house. Did you get a title from that bank? Or did you get a deed? I don't know. I never made payments on a house, so I bought my houses with cash. So, just saying, it was always deeds. So, I'm digging into that a little further as well.
Security means any bond, debenture, note, or certificate or other evidence of indebtedness issued by a corporation or a government or a political subdivision thereof with interest coupons or registered forms, share of stock, voting trust certificate, or any certificate of interest or participation in, certificate of deposit or receipt for, temporary or in terms